Hello and welcome back to the U Up podcast. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Jared Freed. It is so good to be back here with you, Jordana. How are you? Hold on. Big announcement time.
Big day.
You've completely, in one day, you should have seen Jordana showed up in a big stretch limousine. Huge. She was drinking champagne. It was unbelievable. You got to explain what's going on here.
Yes. That is false. I took the Long Island Railroad.
Just like us peasants.
Just like you normies.
Yeah.
To the office. And today we announced that Betches has been acquired. It's
Cash money, baby. That's right. Cha-ching.
It's a big day. It feels a little surreal. It hasn't fully sunk in yet.
Man, rich people talk so much differently than us normals. Acquired. I've never even used the word acquired. Been procured.
Yes, we've been obtained.
I'd be like, give me that fat check. Put it on one of those big, you should have gotten the check like a big...
the big check?
Yeah, the sweepstake.
Yeah.
You should have had it on there.
We're kept women now.
We're
right.
We're
regular employees of a larger corporation.
It's so funny you think of it that way.
Yeah.
It's
I
funny.
immediately go to the negative.
Right. You sold a fucking company.
It's amazing. It's something we've been working on for a while. So it's really cool to see it come together, and especially this company that we started at 21 years old out of our college dorm. It feels very weird to be here almost 13 years later.
It's wild.
And this is our only job we've ever had. So it just feels like so surreal.
Yeah. Right. And it is funny, the mindset change of we own a company, we show up, we kick our feet up.
Yeah.
We show here, it's our space. And then when you sell it, you go, I didn't even think of that. The idea that you got a new boss.
Yeah, we got a boss. I got a boss now.
Right.
I love the idea of having a boss. I love being told what to do.
Yeah.
Personally.
Well, yeah, you don't want to different.
Yeah.
The stresses are different.
Yeah.
Am I doing a good job for the boss is different than, oh my God, I hope this company doesn't, fail.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a different level of pressure.
Yeah.
For sure. But we're still super motivated. The company that has acquired us, Lad Bible Group, based in the UK. How do you say?
I always call them LA. I always thought they were out of LA.
Oh, really? It's Lad, like a British term for like a British guy. Lad.
Every time I've ever seen them online, and I know that they're huge and exist, but I whenever it comes over my purview, this is a good way for me to start with the new bosses.
I have no idea who you are.
Right, this LA hipster brand. I always think of them like
That's
LA
so funny.
Skateboarders.
Okay.
Every time I see it.
Oh, they're so not that. No,
right.
Yeah.
They're Lad.
They're like proper British men. And women. There's many women who work there too.
Remember, things are going to change around here.
A lad is a British man.
No more free tampons.
There will still be complimentary tampons.
Love it. They give me them on the way out. It's weird. Yeah, I stick it up my ass and then I get out of here.
It's funny. I heard some clapping. I'm like, oh, people must be excited about about the sale. And then I walk out and it's like, you just arrived.
Right. Well, first of all, it's a running joke here that I've shown up here and people just start applauding.
Just applauding.
They didn't know what to do when I had the Netflix special. Right. So people applauded and then I did the Tonight Show.
Yes, I remember. Yeah. Well, big week for you too. Although you've already been on the Tonight Show.
I know. It felt a little bit like I decided to announce my baby at your wedding.
Right. Your second baby.
Second baby. Right. It wasn't even my first. Right.
You've already had a kid. Yeah.
Right. And I made it about me. It did a little weird walking in here because I wanted to give you your flowers. This is amazing. What an amazing, congratulations. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of all three of you. It's such a cool thing to be a part of this in some small way.
Yeah.
Just amazing. I
mean, in a big way. And I think this show is a big part of Betches.
Right.
And you're a big part of Betches. And, everyone who works here is like such an important part of what we do here. And just contributes in a way that makes us what we are. So thank you for being I think we've been working with you for since 2012?
It's been a long road.
I think it's since 2012 when we launched in 2011. So, you've seen it all. You've seen us through.
I always
when we were recording remotely.
Right. Yeah. I always say, I'm like, Betches is always at the front of the next thing, which is probably why you guys were acquired. You guys are when it was Instagram, you're on Instagram. When it was blogging, you're on the blog. When it was on TikTok, you're on TikTok. Always on the next thing. And I'm always just like seeing your feet in the snow, putting my feet in those.
Thank you. I mean, so are you. You're on the TikTok.
I'm on the TikTok. That's what us cool kids call it.
Yeah. And I mean, for all the listeners who are wondering if this means anything for the U Up podcast, we are continuing.
Yeah, it means we're going to give less of a fuck. There's more money.
Means we don't have to edit this anymore.
Right. No, this is, it means good things for this podcast.
Yeah, it's good things for this podcast. We hope to get to the UK. We're going to be, expanding the global Betches footprint, and you guys will still get the content that you know and love, and then some.
We love that. That's great. And yeah, we want to go to the UK. I love foggy London town.
Yeah. We'll be on the plane. You'll be like, this isn't LA.
Right. I guess I got to change my whole view of that company. It was always like, look at these LA, Tony Hawks. And I guess they're what are they? Lad Bible?
Yeah.
So like Lad Bible. That's what they're.
Lad, yeah.
Man, they're going to play this clip at their office. Look at this idiot that we associate with.
He's going to be at the shareholder board meeting.
Cheerio! Lad Bible. That's how they say it. Welcome to Lad Bible. That's how they say it. I have no association with them like this.
I said that's how they say it.
Well, I guess when what is it? The puffin. The puffin videos that come up on on Facebook all the time. Every time I see that, I have you have your mind's eye. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, Lad Bible always rung like skateboarder.
Skateboarder. Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they skateboard in the UK.
Probably not. Yeah. Lad Bible. Is that how they would say it?
That's exactly how they say it.
Welcome to.
I feel like you're doing old English.
Yeah.
Like American English.
Whenever I do English, maybe I am.
Maybe.
I sometimes go into
Gilded Age.
Yeah, a little Gilded Age. Sometimes I go into chimney sweep.
Can you do like the Queen's English?
Give me a word. I don't know. What would I give me a sentence here?
Mum?
Mumsy.
Mummy?
No,
Mummy?
that would be more.
Oh, that was that Harvard guy.
That Harvard guy, yeah. Well, let's.
What's going on with you? I mean,
so the Tonight Show did the Tonight Show. It was great. Thank you. If you want to watch it, the YouTube clip is out there. It's a 4.5 minute set. It was stressful. My parents came in for 7 hours to watch it and bother me during it. My mom, we literally did the rehearsal, and my mom goes, "I don't like the Starbucks joke."
During the rehearsal,
I did it, and she goes, "Take out the Starbucks."
Did you?
Well, did I? This is 5 minutes before going on. Don't do the one joke you've been working on.
It's like when you're already out and someone's like, you should change that shirt.
Right.
It's like, I'm already here. I don't.
My dad literally goes to me, he goes, the Starbucks joke, he goes, that's not even like an embellishment. He goes, the Starbucks order, if you actually did it, would be worse than the one you're doing on stage, is what she doesn't understand. Like the way she orders Starbucks. No, listen, I'm happy with the set. It was a rush, as it always is. I kind of left being like, what just happened? You don't know if you did well or not well.
Right. What's your next version? What's your upping the ante
of all this?
Yeah.
Second Netflix special. I want to host.
You want to get him fired so that you take
Get out of here, Jimmy. Kick him out to the streets. I guess for me, I do think I want the new material that I'm putting out there on the road is I really love doing it. So I hope that
second special.
I
mean, I've seen the second special. It is great.
It's getting there.
It is super tight. It is
well, now I lose the joke.
I say upping the ante on the first special.
Thank you. No, I've had a lot of people that are
I'm not sure if that's that's something you like hearing or
No. I like hearing that because I know it's true.
I think it's way better than your special was better.
Right. I don't think if you came to my show after liking the special, you're going to love the show. Mm-hmm. And also what's the cool part is on the road, I don't do the ick bit anymore. We're kind of transferring the ick bit to this podcast.
Yeah.
Because we're going to do Icky or Picky. If you want to send in your Icky or Picky,
send it in.
We're doing one on Sunday with our special guest. So it was fun to do. It is a fun game. Icky or Picky, just something on the date, gave you the ick. Do you feel it was? We're going to debate whether it was reasonable or not.
Yes. Or are you being
picky?
Picky.
Yeah. But the greatest comment in the world is kind of like when you said, like, if they drank it, I know they like the drink.
Right.
The greatest comment is no one's like, before the show I get messages, we're bringing our icks. And then after the show I don't get messages like, well, we didn't even get to do the ick bit. So that's like, to me, a compliment in itself. Like it doesn't even come up because people are just so, I think they like, also it's an adult show. Like it's not for, the show I'm putting together isn't like, 20-year-olds. Who you fucking. Right. It's like a real true story and vulnerability.
It's for real people.
It's for real people. Your family. Bring the family. Yeah. I've added dates.
Ooh.
I've added dates.
JaredFreed.com.
JaredFreed.com. I got plenty of dates.
Where are you going? Syracuse?
Syracuse. I'm going to Syracuse this weekend. Please come. It might be me in the chairs. DC added a second show. Baltimore, Dania Beach, Portland, Oregon, Phoenix, San Diego. Okay, now here we go. New York, New York.
Ooh.
If I can make it there.
I might have to see the show again.
You might have to come back. I'm doing Town Hall.
Oh, great venue.
Great big venue. So assemble the group chat.
When are you at Town Hall?
2/17, February 17th, the week of the worst day of the year.
Wow. We're right between Valentine's Day and the worst day of the year.
Right. I almost had Valentine's Day. I didn't get it.
Really?
I wanted to do a Valentine's Day. Yeah, I thought it would have been fun, but now it's going to be the 17th.
Why did you want Valentine's Day?
I just thought it was like good excuse. Okay, first of all,
that's a good date. That's a good Valentine's Day date.
Big win for the boyfriend if you know that, like,
if you can manage to score
right.
Jared Freed tickets.
The hottest ticket in town.
Yeah.
I just thought it was like a big win, and also for, like, if you're single, like, I thought that was like a fun night with, like, your friends to enjoy. Like, there's some dating material, obviously, because that's a lot of my life. But I just thought it was like a nice night. Yeah.
17th also great.
Also great.
That will sell out. I know that.
I hope so. So get them now.
If not, I'll just do my thing and ask you for 30 free tickets, like I usually do.
Jordana special. Hey,
could you perform a free show for me and 1,500 of my friends?
Right. Boston added a second show. Toronto. That's going to sell out too. I don't know what we do to people in Toronto. I don't know how we tickle their anus, but they love us in Toronto. So I get those tickets now. Chicago, San Francisco. I'm coming. We had to change the date. I stupidly said yes to the weekend of my brother's wedding. So...
Wow. Tell me you don't give a shit about love.
Right. Well, this should tell you, I've been talking to you about this off mic about needing to, like, fix myself up a little bit. This kind of like speaks to that. I just need to, like, I need to drink less. I need maybe an assistant.
Yeah.
Maybe just, I got to eat better. I got to drink less. I got to stand in my shirt. I feel like a slob. I don't know. I went out after taping the Tonight Show, a little celebration. I don't know. I'm
That's
coming to
normal. You would have done that regardless.
I know. I don't know. Maybe
your parents pay.
No, they left. They literally the whole time. My mom goes, "Are we gonna make a flight?" I'm like, "I gotta do the Tonight Show. I don't know about your fucking flight.
It's part.
Gotta make the flight." My mom
really goes with the act.
Here's the funniest part. My mom, Jimmy Fallon, my friend Jimmy.
They get to meet him.
He is Jimmy Fallon. There's been some negative stuff in the press. No one is nicer. The way he comes into the dressing room. It's my mom, my dad, myself, Lisa Gordon, who dressed me, Gordon Style House. She got me all fixed up. I would say,
great.
Yeah, if
makeup was on point.
Makeup, all the stuff. Yeah, Lisa Gordon at Gordon Style House. She got me all fixed up. I mean, she can dress a man. She knows what she's doing. Jimmy Fallon walks in, and you could tell he's like a professional at making people feel good about the interaction he had with them.
Well, that's like the key to being a late night host, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That is the key.
Or
That's
any
why.
host, yeah.
That's why I'm not going to kick him out and take the job from him. He's amazing at it. And he comes in, and he's like, Boston comes up. We're from Boston. He's going and tells this whole story about taping Fever Pitch.
Off air.
Okay. He's so incredibly nice to my parents. There's like, you're like, and I'm like in awe of, like, I'm watching him just like
do his thing.
Do his thing. And we go, let's take a picture. And I kind of like save him. I'm like, Jimmy, thank you. Let's take a picture. We go to take a picture in front of this picture wall. My mom is just like, she's like at it like an 11. She's losing it. And we take this picture and I go, thank you so much. And my mom hugs Jimmy and then takes his hand and kisses his hand.
Oh my God.
Like a king.
What did he say?
It was like one of those
Does anyone have any hand sanitizer?
It was, I go to just kiss his hand? She goes, I want to kiss his face if I could have.
Oh, wow. She's a big fan.
After
Clearly,
that.
yeah.
So that was the funniest, is just
That's
watching
so
her.
funny.
And then like.
Was your dad like, back off, Jimmy?
I'm sure he was like, take her. The booker comes up to me and goes, did your mom just kiss his hand?
Get out.
All right. We're canceling. So yeah, that was a fun moment. But okay, so when I'm coming
congrats again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Minneapolis, the Minneapple, and Royal Oak, Michigan, back to Detroit, where my mom is from. I love Royal Oak. One of those places no one would travel to unless they had to go or live there.
Okay.
And that's
But
why I
you love
like it so much.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful area. The whole Birmingham, Royal Oak area. But that's not going to be that's the one where I'm like, is any tickets going to sell? So I hope.
Get your tickets,
Detroit,
guys.
the big D.
Detroit is beautiful this time of year.
Who doesn't love Detroit in March?
Right? It's the Vegas of Michigan.
Yes. And also Denver. I'm coming to
Denver.
JaredFree.com for tickies. What are we talking about today, Jordana?
We're talking about having a type, you know.
Ooh.
Should we I'll just dive
right
in.
in.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, J&J. Feather. Let's get into it. Can you talk about the concept of a type? I'm a 28-year-old woman living in a big city. I use dating apps and have been single for 3 years. I typically find myself matching with and dating a similar type of look and personality, but I really am open when it comes to looks, backgrounds, interests, etc.
No, you're not.
We'll
No, you're not.
We'll see.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I typically match with one type of look and personality. But I'm open to everything. Everyone wants to believe.
Everyone thinks that they're open, right?
I am not open. I'm just saying.
I actually think you are more open than the average person.
Well, I think my type is maybe like I'm into curvy women. Right. So like maybe my type is not like, you know, this whatever we might imagine as, you know, a woman. Mm-hmm. You know, like I don't know when the first thing comes to mind.
Do you prefer blondes or brunettes?
To fuck? No.
Either.
No, well, that's the thing. Men aren't good about types.
Right.
Because men will never like admit to a type because they don't want to like say, you know, we take them all and then we'll decide.
You don't want to be like limiting yourself.
Right.
Right.
But
that's why you swipe right on everyone you see and then decide later.
A lot of men do that. Beware. I don't know. Your type is your For You page. Your type is your...
Right.
What is it called? What's the page?
The For You page?
But the Explorer page. I think your type is the Explorer page. Your sensibility is your For You page.
Right.
You know, like what gets you to stay on the page.
Right.
I tell a joke during the set. My dad doesn't understand TikTok, but loves TikTok. He's like, it just keeps giving me women's asses. He said that.
Does your mom mind?
She was there. She's like, yeah, she's off in the corner looking at a picture of Jimmy Fallon.
Kissing Jimmy Fallon's hands on a magazine.
Right. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so she says she doesn't have she's open when it comes to looks, backgrounds, interests, etc. I actually like going out with different types of guys because I'm generally an open-minded person.
See, she makes it like a
personality thing.
Right.
Some of you might be closed off and picky, but I'm open-minded.
Right. And also, she's making it a moral thing.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it usually ends up in a fun experience. Recently, I've been seeing a guy that makes me feel out of my comfort zone because he is not what I consider to be my type. He is rather timid and passive, super artsy, kind. I like that he is pushing my boundaries of what I am normally interested in. Here's my question. He asked if I wanted to take a pottery class, and it kind of gave me the ick. It's just not an activity that I'm interested in. I've tried dates like this before, and this is not an area where I shine. Am I forcing myself to date guys that fit some preconceived notion? Is it even possible to have a type? I feel like when I go out with a guy that is not my type, we are not a match. What do you think? A Betch feeling some type of way.
I love this email. I love the talk about the type.
Yeah.
Because it's an icky truth. It's a little bit icky.
Right.
It gets down to what makes you sweat, what makes you salivate, right?
Yeah. And I don't think she says open-minded like that's necessarily like a good thing, but too open-minded is kind of like, do you have any preferences?
Right. And are you wasting your own time? Are you making people your kind of experiment?
Right.
Because that's what she's making it sound like. Her email. And it's not the question, it's just the vibe of this email. Feels like she finds a sense of morality in dating this wide spectrum of people, which, again, like when I say like who am I attracted to, there's two ways to take it. That I'm attracted to one person, or, well, that means you think everyone else is ugly. And it's like, that's not the case. That's not how taste works. It's funny, like we were brought up on the idea of like, you don't choose to be gay.
Yeah.
You're born gay. You're brought up now. Maybe in another time you weren't brought up with that being taught to you, but this is how we've come, that's the right the right way to think about it, right? Like that's what
you are who you are.
You are who you are, but but we don't give that to any other sexuality.
Yeah. You judge everything, right? You judge every other sexual preference,
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and
not liking pottery, though, right? It's not
right.
It's not a class of people that's been oppressed,
right? But it is different, but it's not
right. No, I see what you're saying. It's like you feel uncomfortable stating that, like feeling an ick about someone who likes something that you're not interested in, but you wouldn't feel uncomfortable liking someone who's just not in your preferred gender sexuality. I
don't remember a day in my life where I wasn't attracted to a curvy girl. Like, ever. I can't, I didn't choose, and again, this goes back to her email where it's like, she dates the same type every time.
Right. I guess the thing is with this is like, there's qualities that are sort of like unmovable, and there's qualities that are a little bit less like objective, right? Mm-hmm. So like liking a curvy person, that's sort of like curvy or they're not, right? Liking a tall person, they're tall or they're not.
Right.
Liking a guy who would take a pottery class, I think it's a little bit more, you know what I mean? It's not
I think the pottery is the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right.
So let's say she's used to being with bigger guys and he's skinny and more artsy. Like, I'm reading into the artsy background, but like, let's say he's a Brooklyn, she's usually dating guys who played football in high school versus guys who played in the band.
Yeah. You're right.
And then it becomes, and let's go do some ceramics. And you're like, now it's like, it's not, you're so far from your type.
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? Because it's kind of like, you could be, it's not like they have nothing to do with one another. The fact that he's artsy and the fact that he likes pottery class, like those are things that go together. Like if you say, I like a guy that's jacked, you wouldn't be shocked if he's going to the gym a lot.
Right.
You wouldn't. You would imagine you wouldn't be like turned off by that if that's like the
correlation.
Right. If that's the physique that you're into. So I think like that's that's what she maybe is not thinking about. Like it's not. It is. She's talking about the pottery class, but really it's about him not being her type.
Right. Yeah. And again, it goes in, like you said, it goes into this resume. Like, if you went to Harvard, you went towards this career.
Right.
Not a good example, but the string does it. Again, I think that's kind of the lesson of this is like, you can go one standard deviation away from what you are used to. Mm-hmm. You probably can't go 3.
Well, I think that's a great point, and it reminds me of dating Mike.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, is Mike in the phylum of what you've dated? And not to and what happens is people, everyone's special. Mike is special to you,
right?
But I can understand.
But he's also my type in a lot of ways. But when talking about this standard deviation, like, okay, Mike is not Jewish. I generally have dated mostly Jewish guys.
Right.
Not all Jewish guys, but mostly Jewish guys. And so like my type, I would have told myself before this would have been a Jewish guy.
Right.
He is not. However, if we're talking about it in relation to like this email, he grew up in a town that was mostly Jewish.
Right.
Pretty much most of his friends are Jewish. He
has a Long Island background.
Right, yeah, he was from a town over from me.
Right.
Like there were a lot of similarities, even though that part wasn't really quote unquote my type. The other parts of it that would go with it's not like he's not like religious, I would say. Like it's like the other parts of it still made him my type. So that one thing wasn't like as big of a deal.
Right. Comfort is attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, someone who understands you, maybe understands the way you grew up.
Right. And my parents kind of look like brother and sister.
Your whole family does look alike. Yeah.
Look alike, and I think that kind of goes into how some people date. Sometimes they go, "Oh, that person reminds me of a comfort that I had growing up," and you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll show you a picture of Mike and me and my brother and his brother, and it's actually a little creepy.
Right.
Like, I don't know if
it's an uncomfortable truth.
I don't know if I've ever shown you this picture, but
that's great.
I'll show. I'll find it.
Well, I just think this is like, again, this is why it goes down the road of icky. It's like this person, and here's the thing: this person could meet someone. Yeah, that picture's wild. It just looks like
three of the exact same people.
That's one family,
right?
That's one family, not two different families.
Yeah. So like we're different religions, but there's a general vibe. Yeah.
But this is in dating. I think this person's biggest problem is adding or feeling. I don't think someone should be more. I don't consider someone a better person because they dated so differently from them. Mm-hmm. I also don't again, that's like the fair way to look at things. Right. Like, and if someone does date a different person, that's great. Good for them. They found commonality to be together.
Yeah. And I think here's the thing. I think that there's something about familiarity that draws people to each other. Like that's a psychological phenomenon. Do I think that people should be closed-minded and only date people of like their specific mindset that they've only known? No. But I think to just go against it just based on principle is not really helping anyone.
Right. And she doesn't say that, but she's like dancing on the turf of that a little bit. When you say like, I like to think I'm an open-minded person. You can be both open-minded and date someone that's your type.
And here's the thing. You could try dating someone who's not your type like she's doing here and maybe find that you do like some parts of it.
Right.
Like you could think that you don't like someone who's artsy or does whatever. And maybe the pottery thing happened and she was like, well, this isn't going to work. But maybe she likes that he was maybe more sensitive than the other jockey guys that he did. And she takes that to her next relationship.
Right. I totally agree. Your taste is always evolving.
Yeah.
But it's... do
you ever go out with someone and you're kind of like, not for me, but I liked this thing about them. I'm going to look for that in the next person.
Absolutely. I wish I could take the parts of all my exes, put them together, sew them together into one. Yeah, I would love that. Just take everything I, was into.
Build your perfect woman.
Right.
I feel like there's a movie about that.
I'd like to take your mouth and bring it to someone else. Like, I don't know, it sounds so creepy.
No, I mean, I think we've all thought that. Right. If only I could take this part from this person and this part from that person. So I think that, I think it's good to date a bunch of different people just to figure out what you do like. But I don't think you should be forcing yourself to be attracted to things that you're not.
No. Again, and this is the part with icky or picky. It's like, it's never the ceramics.
Right. And I bet if this guy was like a jock, but he wanted to go to a pottery class, it wouldn't be as big of a turnoff.
Totally agree. And we're making, jock is just...
Whatever. I don't know what did she say.
We don't know what she never says her type, but I agree. We want to talk about the awkward sex segment because we want to say we've been doing awkward sex now for 6 years on this podcast. But we're noticing there's a trend and we're seeing similar stories a lot. So we want to open up. We want to mix it up. We want to open up awkward sex. We're going to call it the awkward interactions.
Yes.
We're going to call it awkward interactions.
We want your weirdest, most uncomfortable dating stories.
Right.
Consensually, like nothing, like fun.
Keep it fun. Yeah. We want like an awkward date, awkward introduction, awkward, and we'll talk
awkward
about
relationship moment.
Right. Awkward relationships. If you've been with your husband or wife for how many years, this awkward thing happened. Let's get into the awkwardness of relationships here.
Exactly. And we'll tell you if it's a red flag or a deal breaker still.
If you should get a divorce.
Maybe we'll name the awkward interaction too, depending on how nameworthy it is.
I love a name. Yeah. Love a branding op. So UUP at Betches.com, UUP at Betches.com. We want to make sure you send in your awkward
dating experiences.
There it is. Awkward dating experiences.
ADPs.
ADPs.
Yes.
ADPs. Let's send them in. UUP at Betches.com. So we have gotten so many questions about open relationships, open marriages, things of that nature. We were like, we got to bring on an expert.
Yes.
We go ahead.
A Betches employee, because you guys have loved those episodes in the past. We want real experiences from real people. So we're so excited to have Jaz from our production team, Jaz Zepatos. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So we wanted to hear about your experience. You're in an open marriage.
I am.
How did we get here?
Give us the
story.
Take us back to day one.
You must have like a ladder statement for this at this point, right?
No, I get hit with so many questions. Like as soon as I tell people that this is my situation, it's like, wait, okay. And so I'm used to answering questions, but I'm also happy to, because I feel like there can be stigma or confusion, or people think like, oh, so you're like creepy Craigslist people. And it's just not that in 2023.
Right.
It's more common than I think most people realize.
I think it's a growing movement. What was it in San Francisco that they said ethical non-monogamy?
Yes. That's what we classify as.
So E&M.
E&M.
Right.
Correct.
How long have you been with your significant other?
We have been together on and off for 6 years, married for 2.
Okay.
And open for a year and a half. So it was really just like a year into our marriage that we opened things up.
So the rest of your relationship, you were not open.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you had told me, like when I started dating him, I would have laughed in your face. I mean, I had once been involved in an open relationship, but from the outside. And I remember thinking like, oh, I would never want to be the woman on the inside of that. I was the third.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was just like, I'm the fun time girl. Like I'm the vacation girl. Like this is way more fun. But now that I'm on the inside, I realize I've got to get in here.
Okay.
You like it.
So, well, who brought it up? Like how did this come up?
I brought it up.
Oh, you were okay. So you initiated it.
I feel like I'm coming out.
Tell us your story.
Yeah, no, I brought it up. So during the pandemic, we weren't even married. We weren't even engaged when we like fled the city. But the pandemic, like for a lot of people, like either sped up relationships or ended a lot of relationships. Mm-hmm. Our sped up. We got engaged. We got married. We bought a house. We were like. We'd gone to stay with his parents. We were in like Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. We were like in the middle of nowhere. But, you know, it was like everybody was trying on a new life. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I can work with this cute seaside town. I'll like open a craft shop. Like I'll just start anew. Yeah. And, but I quickly realized like I'm a comedian. I like being around people. I've lived in the city for years and years. And I was really lonely and bored and also had a total identity crisis after I got married. Okay. I also had like a lot of downtime during the pandemic. So I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of learning, a lot of unlearning. And I think I started asking questions for the first time where I was like, what are all of these rules that I've lived my life by without asking why?
Okay.
Who made these rules? And were they to benefit me?
Was there a specific book that you read that made you kind of
Untamed? Glennon.
Oh wow, okay.
Glennon Doyle. Yeah, she just fucked me right up.
Okay.
She just like
that was huge in the pandemic.
Blew my life wide open. Not to be totally cliche, but she was saying these things, and I was like, I am feeling like something's missing. And it was this whole thing where and Jordana, I know I hear everything you say because I edit your podcast. So you were saying recently on an episode of Baby Steps where like, especially for women, I feel, you might feel it too. You can let me know, but there's a lot of pressure of like, well, you got to get married by this time. And then you got to have kids by this time.
For sure, yeah.
Especially like 30 is like a big number for people. And it's like, get married by 30 or you're a crone. And
right. Or there's no hope for you.
Yeah. And I was 30. I got married at 30. And I was like, my whole life people have been like, get married by 30. And like weddings are kind of like, dangled in front of you. And then you get on the other side of it and you're like, okay, I'm still me. But like I was sort of conditioned my whole life to be attractive to men so that they'll want to marry me. But now I kind of have to like strip that away. I'm a very flirty person. I'm a very sexual person. I'm like, so I now have to bury like a pretty significant part of myself because now I'm like wife and mother.
Right.
I'm not a mother yet, but like.
You're in that role. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that felt very like suddenly scary for me.
Did you regret like getting married or being married or was it just kind of like getting there and realizing that wasn't necessarily like the end?
I think I knew in my mind, I kept saying to myself, like, you know what? And before I had considered non-monogamy, I was like, I can do my marriage my way, right? Like it doesn't have to be like a Susie Homemaker type of situation. Like, I can figure it out. But I was I was just in a place in my life where I was feeling lonely. I was feeling not myself. And I didn't know how to identify. Like this word wife felt really heavy in a conventional sense.
Did it feel like an ending?
It did. It felt like an ending. Yeah, I felt like I had to suppress a pretty big part of myself.
So at this point, you're living in Rehoboth Beach?
Yeah.
And you own a home.
Correct.
And
are you telling your husband these thoughts?
No, go ahead. Yeah. How do you bring it up to them?
I did. And like, I gotta say, like, I'm married to a very like a wonderful progressive man with a good sense of humor. And so like, I would have little like moments of, because also like, it was only the two of us. Like we would both be like working from home and then we get to the dinner table. I hadn't like spoken to anyone all day. Right. So I would just like have a meltdown and be like, I just feel weird. Like I love you and I know I want to be married to you. He's like, well, what do you want to do? You want to like go to a bar and flirt with somebody? Like what's the deal? Like what is it that you want? And I like couldn't figure out really what it was. And I was mostly just like in therapy being like, because there was a big part of me that was like, do I just like run off into the, like just like go back to the city? I was really missing New York. Mm-hmm. I was like, do I just like blow up my life and move back to the city? Maybe this was a mistake. But I knew I had a great partner. And I also know that I do value having a partner. Like it's just a crazy fucking world out there. And it's nice to have somebody in your corner. So I was talking to my therapist a lot about it. And she was like, would you consider asking him for an open relationship? And I was just like, we've only been married for a year. Like that's what you do when you're like in your 50s trying to like make things exciting again.
Midlife crisis, right? Probably.
Yeah. But it got to a point where I just was like, all right, either way, I'm blowing up my life, right? Because either I like fuck up and I'm really desperate and I end up like having an affair or entertaining a flirtation, or I can just go out on a limb and have like a very honest and scary conversation with my partner. And so, yeah.
Well, is there a thought that, I mean, I know this was brought up by a therapist, but like, doesn't it feel like, when you mentioned like, I like the security of the relationship and I also have this other, part of me that it's not getting, fed, so to speak. Is there like an element of like, that you're kind of like, what's the word for it? Like, I'm looking for a word.
Slutty.
Not slutty. No, like you're compensating
are you saying like could she have found it in the relationship? Is that what you're
right? Are you curing one thing with another thing that might like another problem? Well, curing one problem with another problem. I'm looking for a word that someone can DM me. I'm sure.
Or is it like I think what you're saying is it like is it changing a sexual excitement within the relationship and outsourcing it elsewhere?
Sure.
Right.
I don't know if that's what you meant.
I guess I do. I don't know. Like it feels like a weird solution to to be brought up by a professional. That's what I guess.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it did surprise me that my therapist was like, so have you considered this? And to be very transparent, before we had bought our house, like we had lived with my then it like later would be my in-laws for like 10 months, which is just like, that's where your sex life goes to die.
Oh yeah.
Right. And you're seeing your partner, your husband, as like kind of a child.
Yes.
Right.
You're not really seeing them. You're seeing them like you're
annoying,
right.
childlike.
Right.
Big time.
Yeah.
And he would fully admit to this. Like we got Rehoboth Beach is also kind of like an old person's town.
Yeah.
And so it was like this weird thing where like he regressed a little bit, but also like retired too. Not actually, but just like as a person. And so which happens, you know, with couples. Right. And it was a conversation that I had brought up. So it's not like it was like I don't know how to fix this, so let me just like go fuck some other dudes. It was like we had conversations and it wasn't actually moving us anywhere.
Okay.
So now you bring it up to him. Is he mad, disappointed, excited? What's his reaction?
So it was funny. I had been like,
he also, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
is he also, you know, you mentioned like, is he also a sexual person or is he not?
What's funny is, so I would say on the spectrum, I am more so than he is. But I do think that this has like reignited his sexual passion, like within our marriage and outside of our marriage. I think like, I don't know if like something about getting married just made him kind of be like, well, all right, this is my life now. And like,
Let me stop trying.
yeah. Kind of.
Right. Yeah, I think that happens to a lot of people when they get married. It's like this, you know, we're so comfortable, which is great, but then you get so comfortable that you're kind of like, well, I don't need to impress this person, or I don't need to like, you know, do it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing makes you step up your game more than knowing that your partner's going to go on a date with somebody else who like could very well wow them. And it's not a competition, but it does like help keep you on your toes a little bit, which is nice.
Right.
But to your question, Jared, I was just waiting like for an opening because I wasn't even sure when.
Opening?
We were driving to the airport. We were about to spend a month on the West Coast. We were gonna like drive through California and Oregon, and we were in the car and we were just like, let's just talk about like how our marriage is going, like what's working for us, and what's not working for us.
I would assume it's not going.
I have a fun idea while we're trapped together in the car.
Here's a fun game.
Yeah.
What's your favorite color? And do you want to open things up? No, we were talking about like what was working, what we feel like we could work on, because we were coming up on our 1-year anniversary. And
That's a good opening.
Nice. A nice little
check-in.
yearly review.
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. We actually do every year. We do that now. And we like rewrite some vows. We're like, okay, this is now what
I love
think
that.
It's
I
nice.
think that's really nice.
And I just kind of like I didn't want to like be gamey about it. I didn't want to be like, so wouldn't this be fun? Like I wanted to be really honest with him. And I just said, I feel like I'm having a tough time right now with monogamy. I'm feeling myself like a part of myself is being suppressed. And I also feel like if I don't do something about it, not in like a threatening way, but I was like,
I might come out in a way that isn't healthy.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was surprisingly, like he was really receptive. And he was just like, yeah, like he just, the way he puts it is like, you know, we're married. And so like, we're happy when making the other person happy. And I think for him too, like I'm lucky that he was the kind of person that was like, my wife just asked me like if I want to go hook up with other girls, like am I dreaming? Granted, this was like first impressions.
Okay.
We certainly like hit struggles later on, but initially he was like, cool, let's try this. Let's like see what's.
Did he ask right away if there was someone else?
You know what? No.
That would be my first question.
Right.
I'd be like, you're saying this, what's bringing this on?
Right.
I would go, is there someone else?
Interesting. I wouldn't think that for some reason.
I think he knew I was struggling. Like,
right. It seems like you were saying you've had multiple conversations. This wasn't like it was out of nowhere, but it probably wasn't out of nowhere in relation to like the multiple conversations you've had before that.
Right.
Well, I guess you don't want, hey, I've been thinking about monogamy and how I'm feeling about it. And also, here's Robert.
Right.
You know, like
I've been cheating on you and I'd like for it to now be allowed.
Right.
Like,
I mean, that would be the
Well,
fear.
that's what I'm saying. This is the much more mature way to do it. That's like so thoughtful.
Right, but a good strategist would use the mature way to get into be like, and I've been thinking of this person, even if they haven't.
Right.
Right.
been with that person.
Did you have someone in mind, or was it just like?
I just because like I'm on social media and stuff, like I get male attention. I have people sliding into my DMs. And so like there wasn't one person that I was like, I really want to try it out with this person. It was more where I was just like, it felt good to get attention, like probably better than it should have.
Right.
And so, yeah, so I knew like I wanted to get back out there. And I'd been monogamous for most of my life. And being along the lines of this like turning 30 thing, I turned 30, I got married, I bought a house, I was living in the suburbs suddenly out of nowhere. And all of a sudden I realized like I have so much to offer, like that I want to explore about myself. 30 is not like the end all be all, especially for women. We're like at our sexual peak. We're at like, I'm the most emotionally intelligent I've ever been. Like, why should I leave my whole dating experience to when I was like 24 and kind of a dum-dum?
Were you doing comedy at this point?
I was doing, during the height of pandemic, like I was doing like online stuff, but I wasn't being public about this sort of stuff. Are you saying like, was I getting hit on by...
No, I mean, I've had the opinion, and I don't mean this to sound mean or whatever, but like whenever someone starts comedy while in a relationship, I think I tend to see that this changes the relationship.
Sure.
It changes, and I see it from the male side a lot.
Before, yeah.
Yeah, and you see
sense.
like when a guy starts doing open mics with a girlfriend, I think
it's like going to college with a girlfriend.
Yeah, and it's because like if you had a job that was making you money and then you're going to this thing that doesn't make you any money and you're out at it at night and during times that you would be with the significant other, like
going through something a little bit,
right?
Maybe.
I've always believed that. Is there a little bit of that? Like
I will say for me, like I was a child actor, so like I've been doing like acting and theater since I was a kid, and so like. I'm used to like the showmances and things like that, but I also think I just like, I don't know. I feel like there's usually you say this and it's like you can judge somebody for saying this, but like I love romantic attention. Like I love flirting. It's fun. Like I love banter.
Yeah.
I love, the back and forth.
And in marriage, that can get lost. The banter especially.
It can get lost in Delaware. Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's just no stakes, I think, in marriage. It's
Correct.
Like, there's like, I know there's no like mystery. I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you actually like what I've found since is that like our communication and our like flirtiness has been enhanced because I guess sometimes when you get married, you're just like, well, this is what we're doing and like what's there to talk about.
Does it feel a little bit more fragile now, the relationship?
It feels way stronger than it ever did before.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. So because I get that. Well, the main question I get is, aren't you scared that like your partner or you are going to meet somebody else and fall in love and leave each other?
Right.
Like there's a much bigger chance of that. In my mind, first of all, people do that when they're monogamous.
Right.
And I would
that's a play in any relationship.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think for me, like if there is an attraction to a person and I have every right to go out and pursue that, I can see what they're like. I can in a normal, low stakes. I had a boyfriend for almost a year. So like and
boyfriend while you're
like
okay.
while I was married. So and it ran its course and it was lovely and it was fine. But like for me, at least in my experience and what you see in the movies, like when you're in a monogamous relationship and you see somebody that there could be a spark with, you get like fixated on them because you can't have it.
Right.
And then say you have an affair and it's like this high stakes, passionate, like it's a secret. So it's fun. It's exciting. You don't actually know what it's like to be in a real relationship with that person. So I feel like it's almost, you get a skewed representation of it. Whereas like in this situation, my partner and I, like we have very solid trust. We have great communication. I can explore this thing. If there comes a time where, here I fall deeply, deeply in love with somebody else, like that happens to everyone. Right. But I do feel like there's less of a chance of us just like making kind of like a rushed decision into leaving each other.
Right. Are there rules?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
What is this start with rules?
We did so we're like having this conversation on the way to the airport. We're on the flight to the West Coast. We're like, okay, what do we want to do? What's the plan? What are we allowed to do? Can we travel? Can we sleep over? And so we also were like, we didn't know this then, but like it's a huge learning curve. I mean, there's a lot that you need to unlearn when you're going through this, just mentally. And
like what?
Probably like learning things that upset you versus don't upset you.
Right. Like there are things where you're like, I'm cool with this. You know, like one of the big things was like sleepovers. We're like, yeah, that's fine. Just like as long as like we know where the other person is, like things happen late at night.
Share your location. We're good.
Right. And so that was one thing we were totally cool with. And then when sleepovers started happening, we were like, at first he was like getting cranky with me. And I was like, all right, you said this was cool. And then like he would go do it. And then I would be like, well, you said it wasn't cool. And now you're a hypocrite. So like that was a big point of tension. And I think ultimately we just came back to like, maybe we really don't like going to bed alone without each other at night. And like, unless it's like a night where it's like, it's 4 a.m, it's a $70 Uber home. Is it cool if I just crash here and then like whatever, then.
Okay.
I mean, I've always said, and I mean this in a nice way, that open relationship people are weirdos.
I think a lot of people think that they're like the Craigslist polyamory people.
Well, not even the Craigslist. I mean it more in the sense that you have to be so communicative with each other in a way that is like maybe even more than, you know, you have to say, I'm cranky because I don't want you sleeping. And now we have to go back to the rule book and we got to change some rules. Like
Edit the contract.
And when most relationships don't have an actual contract with rules, and
because
you
the
need
rules
that.
are so built in to a societal monogamous relationship.
Don't they have rules though? Because they do,
yeah, and everyone knows them.
I think they're said out loud,
or
comfortably.
Watching them on TV, for sure. Right? Yeah.
Or like you assume you know exactly where you stand on these rules. Whereas like it could be the type of thing where it's like, hey, I'm cool with you going out with your female coworker after work for drinks in a group, and somebody's like, I'm actually not that cool with that. You know, so it's like, I feel like getting really specific on your own rules and your boundaries, like everyone should do that. Because I think
I'm not saying it wouldn't help a relationship, but I think
we have to talk about a lot.
You need one to go into this. So it's like this idea that like, let's be open, and then you just, all right, I'll see you later. That's not how these things go.
No,
like you guys
certainly not.
have. What are your rules? Do you have like
so no sleepovers?
Yeah.
No
so now,
sleepovers.
well, and even then, like it's like
unless
we don't.
It's expensive,
right?
Literally. Was it payday or not? Yeah. I mean, I think like and again, these change. You really go through seasons, just like in any other relationship. Where like I have seasons where I'm like, you know, I'm like dating like crazy. I have seasons where I'm not dating at all. I have seasons where I'm like, show me like every girl that you're talking to, I want to see like all of her profiles, her dating profiles.
Are you open on your dating profiles that you're in an open relationship?
Yeah.
Do you find that you get approached by people that are looking to take advantage of that, or are prone to like talking to you because of that?
I think it's funny, like because it's different for men and women. Where initially my husband had a much harder time because there are not that many women in their 30s who are like not dating to marry.
Yeah.
Right.
And there are, and especially since we moved back to New York City, like people are a lot more open-minded here, or they're just like,
There's more people.
There's more people.
Right.
I just got out of something. I'm not looking for something serious. And for men, it's usually, I don't want to say usually, there are guys that are just like, yeah, I'm open with that. I'm not looking for something serious right now. Or of course it's easy to fetishize and just be like, I'm going to fuck someone's wife. Like it's not, you know, like you
I guess I didn't think of that. Yeah.
You know, but I also think what guys don't realize is like they are also human beings with feelings. And I've gone on a few dates with guys who have been like, I think I thought I was cool with this, but now I realize like you're cool and I like you, and I don't know actually that this is right for me. And I've been like totally fair.
Right.
But at least they know what they're getting themselves into.
Again, finding out after you've experienced it, going, oh, that wasn't for me.
You have to do it to know. Like it's easy to talk about these things and these guidelines and these rules, but until you live it, it's hard to say.
I guess. Go ahead.
Sorry. Is there no jealousy on?
Oh, I mean, there definitely have been. There have been moments like where this is so weird, but I think like the moments I get the most. It's not that weird. When I'm like home alone and he's out, like we'll try if we can't just schedule like nights out at the same time. Cause I'll be like home doing laundry, folding his briefs. Like, you motherfucker. Like, why am I? But, you know, I think jealousy, when I think about it, like this is the least jealous I've ever been in a relationship. And I do think it's because a lot of times jealousy comes from the not knowing, and your mind sort of runs wild with
point,
it,
yeah.
where you're like, what is he doing? Who else
Now
is
you're
he
like, I know
talking
what
to?
this
I'm like,
is.
I know exactly who he's talking to, and I can recognize her on the street.
Do you what's his longest girlfriend?
1 week.
1 week.
Yeah, very recent. And honestly, like, it was kind of funny because I will
So
say,
you've
like,
had a year boyfriend and just like, I'll see you.
Do you ever meet like each other's people?
no,
So you never met your boyfriend?
We play. Actually, that's not true. He did meet my boyfriend like twice, and it was kind of like in a handoff scenario, like a
divorced dad dropping off the kids at
have
McDonald's
fun,
with the mom.
kids, be safe. Yeah, it was more like I actually like. I feel like my husband was like trying to sort of come to terms with this, or just like wrapping his head around it in a way that felt good for him. And I was actually pretty upset. Like, this is where boundaries come into play, where like sometimes boundaries get crossed and you're like, actually, this isn't cool. The guy I was dating was like in a show, and my husband just like DM'd him and was like, hey, break a leg at your show. And I was like, horrified.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy could be so weirded out and never talk to me again because you were trying to be like buddy with him.
Dad!
Literally, you're
embarrassing me,
yeah. So, things like that where I'm like, I want this to be like my private life, even though we're sharing things.
Do you share it with you when you come back from the date? Do you talk to him about the date?
Sometimes, yes. Like, usually, like, if it's a good date, we'll just be like, yeah, it was good. I'm usually the one that asks more questions. I'll be like, did you have sex? Was it good sex? Like, what did she do that was different? But
And you like hearing about that?
I feel like for me, yeah, like for some reason it just like helps me, because he's also very good about like, and we both have to be very good at reminding each other all the time, like, you're my priority, you're my partner, you're my number one.
Right.
And so,
Well, because I can imagine it's not so obvious if you have a boyfriend.
right,
That's the case, right?
right,
Yeah.
like today, you're my number two.
Does hearing about his experience, like, does that make you more attracted to him?
Yes, it does. When you see that your partner is desired,
yeah.
like it absolutely does make them, the fact that I know that women are like chasing after, I'm like, yeah. And I won't lie, like, I'm not somebody that's like free love. Like, I'm competitive. Like, I want to be the best, and I want to be number one, and I want to be the favorite, even with the other guys, with other guys I see. So, which is ridiculous, but it's just how I'm wired. But it's really fun to share the bad dates. Like, I'm
sure.
super fun.
And it's got to be fun to like. Again, this is back to the like, if it's a bad date, who cares?
Right.
I'm gonna go back to.
I gotta say, dating is so much more fun since I've been married. Because
Sure. Well, that's why I said
That should be a
the
t-shirt.
best way to date would
Right.
be as like a woman who already, I would say this, like had kids, no
Yes.
stakes, no biological clock, none of that.
I
So
wish
it's
I
like-
dated like this. I wish when I was in my 20s and running around, I wish I had dated like this, because when you're not looking for the one, like the stakes
Have
come
fun.
down, you can have fun.
Yeah.
You're not looking for somebody to like check every single box, and if they don't, you check out. Like, I wouldn't have, after my first date with my husband, there was no thought in my brain where I was like, this is the one. Like, that came later, but I was always looking over my shoulder for like, who's my person? And it puts so much pressure on it. Now I just get to have fun. I'm more my authentic self. And I also feel like men are way more chilled around me because they know they don't have to play any games or hold me at arm's length.
Right.
Which to me is honestly a little bit sad, like that I can tell that men are different with me because they know I'm not going to try to marry them one day.
Listen.
She's gonna
I
try
can
to
understand.
marry
Yeah, right. The
Don't fall in
worst
love with
fear.
me.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, I literally, on my Hinge profile, like I put that I'm not monogamous, and I just say like, if you're down for like, a couple laughs, like like make out, and just like, don't try to marry me. Like let's eat some snacks together and have fun. Like, and I feel like that's an attractive.
You're on
idea.
Hinge. Are you on Field?
No, I'm only on Hinge. I was on Fields. I wasn't loving I just wasn't finding a lot of guys I was into on Fields.
Gotcha.
I feel like Hinge is a lot more my demographic.
Did you tell your boyfriend that you loved him?
We did say that to each other, yes.
Okay. And your husband didn't mind?
There are certain things that I did not, like, I didn't come home and be like, guess what? And,
Right.
and this is something too that like, I try to tell my husband, we're all raising our husbands in a sense, in a way where like, we're just helping them to be better, and vice versa. But like we had like gotten in a fight over something, like the girl that was his girlfriend for a week, like had him out later than I would have preferred on like a tough day for me. And I was like, I felt disrespected, which is a big thing for me. Like whoever you're dating needs to respect me, and you need to respect me first and foremost. And so it was like we had this fight, and then he was like, so-and-so wants me to be your boyfriend. And I was like, this is not the time to bring this to my attention. But like, so it's like a timing thing. Like, did he need to know that he and I were saying I love you to each other? Like, probably not. But like, if he asked, it's a big like, if you ask me, I'll always tell you the truth.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to.
Correct. Right. And I've respected that. Like, sometimes he doesn't want to know like every detail. But like, if he asks me, I'll tell him anything he wants to know.
Do you see this as a like forever thing? Like you talked about maybe wanting to be a mom. Like, would you see continuing to do this when you have kids?
I think when we are actively trying to get pregnant, probably not.
Okay.
Just because I could get,
sure, right?
It'd be like a whole Mamma Mia situation that I'm not looking to do, of just like, who's the father? Right. So, I think maybe then we'll probably take a break, and then we'll have to see. Cause I know like new parents, like they don't even have enough bandwidth for each other. I would imagine like if we were to get back into it after having kids, it would take a minute to even be able to have the bandwidth to do it.
Do you think, this is my bias,
Please.
This could only work if it's brought up by the woman?
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
And here's what I'll say. Like, it's sad, but maybe it is slightly true, only because, and I've had girlfriends been like, well, my boyfriend has brought up non-monogamy. And so it's like, you just have to ask, like, has this person done some research around non-monogamy? Has this person, like, is this person truly dedicated to you? Or is this just somebody who would honestly rather just be casual with you, and they're putting the title of non-monogamy on it to make it seem like, okay.
I guess when does that, I guess that's the tough thing to
you may never actually know.
Because I think living with each other probably makes this the easiest. You would have to get to a point of like, we live together, we're committed to each other, we're married, and then it would have to come up, and it's like, and then you bring it up and you go, okay, it either works out in this way or we get divorced.
Totally. And is not going to work for everyone. And it's also, even if it's your thing, it may not work for you in a very specific relationship. Like, it really is two people coming together to make this thing work. And it's not that it doesn't have its issues or its challenges, but like every relationship does. So it's just deciding, are these the challenges that you want to have?
It's like it's a weird fight for someone to hear, but it is your fight. Like if someone heard you like arguing about like you don't have to tell me that you love your boyfriend.
Right.
They'd be like, these words are weird amongst these people, but it's your argument.
Or for me to be like, I was like helping my husband with his girl problems and like making sure I got him out of the doghouse with his girlfriend.
I mean, it works for you. So I think that's great that you're kind of like marching to the beat of your own drum there.
I don't think men realize that like this isn't going to be as fun for you as you think.
No, definitely
like
not.
When you say a 1 week girlfriend and you had a boyfriend for a year.
Yeah, I'm sure most men don't think of that.
Right.
They're considering opening up. But I had one more question.
Please.
I know we're a little bit out of time, but was there a sense, and I guess clearly not, or how did this come up, whether you were like, because I'm sure a lot of people do this and they just don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So what made you decide we're going to be, I mean, obviously you're on the show.
Right. Does his parents know?
His parents don't know.
Could they they could come across this podcast?
There's a chance. Right. We had to talk about this when I was like, are you comfortable with me coming on this show and talking about it? And we were kind of like, I don't think that they're going to come across this show. I mean, like they know I'm at Betches, like they follow up Betches, my mom knows and his sister know. And like mostly our friends, it's kind of common knowledge. But it was the kind of thing where we were like, if we were monogamous, would we be talking to our parents about our sex lives even then? Like, not really. Right. But it is the kind of thing that you hope they find out from you. So we'll see what happens once this.
What did your mom
tell
think?
your friends? Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
My mom. My mom loves me and supports me. She's the best stage mom ever. It's not like her favorite thing, but she also knows well enough to know that like I've got a good head on my shoulder. She trusts me. I think it's not for her.
Well, I think also like my mom even says to me like moms just want to know where you are
and that you're happy
and that you're happy, but also like that you're safe.
Yeah,
like this is an element of danger. You're just bringing other men into your life.
Right, I can see why that would be scary.
My first date I went on in New York City when I moved here, like in 2012. My mom like I made the mistake of telling my mom I was going on a date. She tracked my phone. She was like calling me all night. And when I lied to her. I told her I was going home. I was going home with this guy. She called A&T Verizon and was like, I think this is broken. My daughter says she's home in Chelsea. She's actually in Jersey City.
Wow.
And they go, well, you should probably call the police because the first 24 hours are the most important.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Luckily, I had to be like, I'm fucking a dude. Like, leave me alone. But, like, yes, moms, especially Jewish moms.
Right.
Yeah.
It's another degree of moms that, like, they want to know what you're doing and where you're at. So I spare her the details, but, like, she knows I'm happy.
Right. Well, this was so enlightening. I have a million more questions.
We're gonna have to bring you back because we have all
come
these
back.
questions from the Instagram.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I feel like we were just bombarded. I think what you're doing is great. We're like also be talking about this publicly because, like, again, I feel like I have a sense that some people do this, but not that many people maybe talk about it.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have to have you back. Next time we'll actually get to the audience questions. When these are all our personal questions.
Anytime.
Where can people find you? You said, obviously like at Betches, but where else?
Yes, I'm on Instagram at Jaz, JAZ_Zap, ZAPP. And yeah, come be friends with me. Let's do it. Like normal friends. Amazing.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
We will be back on Sunday with our Sunday special.
Boom.
The You Up podcast is produced by Jorge Morales-Pico, Sean Kilby, and Candice Maniga. Editing by Jorge Morales-Pico and Shannon Sassone. Social media by Candice Maniga. Guest booking by Ali Friedlander. Be sure to follow at you.up.podcast on Instagram and send us your emails to uup@betches.com.